I wonder. Strengths, procrastinate. Weaknesses, dogs. That's right, you're my weakness. You're my weakness. Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle is directed by Jake Kasdan, who is known for Walk Hard, The Dewey Cox Story, and Bad Teacher. He also directed a very underrated film called Orange County, which you should check out if you've not already seen it. Link to the trailer in the description below if you are interested. This film stars Dwayne Johnson, Jack Black, Kevin Hart, and Karen Gillan. While cleaning out their school's basement during detention, 4 teenagers discover an old video game console and get sucked into the game's jungle setting, becoming the adult avatars that they chose. The only way out is to play along and finish the game. Let me say just straight off the bat here, this was a fun movie. You can tell the cast and the crew, you can tell they all had fun making this. It's much funnier than I was expecting, so that was a nice surprise. I'd say there was a good laugh every minute, really, except when they were going for serious scenes. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, he brings his usual charm and charisma. Kevin Hart basically plays himself. Karen Gillan does an excellent job at masking her Scottish accent. If I'd never seen her before, I would think she was American. Jack Black, though, was the best part about this film. He plays a teenage girl amazingly well, almost too well at times. I must have been in a room packed with 300, 400 people, and everyone was cracking up at everything Jack Black does. There's so many good scenes with him. It's unreal. It's just crazy how good he was at it. And all of them have really good chemistry as well, which makes the film even better. And since it's a video game instead of a board game this time, there's various terminology that you only hear in video games. The film does a really good job at explaining most of them, but there are a few that I think non-gamers will just not understand. There's also a scene very early on where The Rock is reading a letter, and then it basically turns into a flashback, which they call a cutscene in this. I don't think it had to get called a cutscene. It would have worked as just a normal flashback, and I think that will confuse some people who've never played a video game in their life. And I think that was mainly because of the way that particular bit was edited. I think that should have been done slightly differently. I don't know how, but slightly differently. This film does have a good message behind it for the kids of this generation, but the problem is there's a scene where Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is told by Kevin Hart what that message is, basically word for word. It happens towards the climax of the movie, and even though that scene was necessary, I would have liked it if they hadn't said, like I said, word for word what it was. So yeah, not the best execution there. I had 2 really big issues with the film. The first being the antagonist played by Bobby Cannavale. I gotta say, his character has gotta be one of the weakest villains I've ever seen in a movie. There is a reason you only see him for seconds in all the trailers. You learn absolutely nothing about him. He never feels like a threat, and he's hardly even in the movie except for, I'd say, like 5 minutes. And it's a shame because Bobby Cannavale has proven that he is a really good actor. He's won an Emmy Award, but he was just given nothing to work with, which, yeah, it was just a real shame. And my second main complaint is the pacing. Even though it wasn't slow per se, it still went by really fast, but that's mainly because it was funny. But when you look at the overall plot, they hardly do anything. They're just walking through a jungle most of the time. A couple of challenges along the way, nothing major. It just didn't feel like Jumanji. In the first one, someone would roll dice, then there'd be a riddle of some kind, and then they'd have to tackle it some way, roll the dice again, and so on and so forth. This one, they do address that. They're like, oh yeah, it's going to get harder and harder as this goes on. You get an occasional character who's basically an NPC, who then gives them a riddle, and then they have to solve that riddle, and you get it. The riddles weren't really that enticing, and they didn't really feel like they were any challenge whatsoever, and the main quest was just so bland. And it felt relatively easy. It was basically just walk through the jungle and put a stone back. I would have liked to have more of a challenge and a harder main quest, because that was just way too easy. The only other issue I had with this film, it's a really small thing, was with the teenagers. Their acting was fine. They were hardly in it. But their dialogue, it didn't sound like a teenager. There were moments where it sounded like experienced adults. So yeah, I think the dialogue could have been a bit more teenagey. I know that's not a word, but you know what I mean. So overall, it's a really fun film. There are plenty of laughs to be had here, but it never felt like Jumanji other than the name, the music, some of the sound effects, and just a few small references here and there. It doesn't do anything to detract from the first one, so it does respect it. However, it doesn't add to it. It should have just been called something else. I would give Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle a 6 out of 10. If you're looking for a good family film, you can see it with your kids, go see it with your friends, you just want to shut off your mind, have a good time, you should go see this. This is definitely for you. However, if you're looking for a movie that will recapture the magic from the first Jumanji, you'll be left disappointed. So that is it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. At the time of recording this, it's only 16 days left till Christmas, so not long now. I'd really appreciate it if you could check out a video I made a couple of years ago. It's a short film I wrote and directed called Saint Nick. It's set on Christmas Eve night, and it's about Santa Claus who's arrested for driving under the influence, and he's interrogated by some agents trying to find out who he really is. Here's a small clip from it, and if you enjoy that, I'll put a link to the full video in the description below and at the end of this video. And if you do enjoy it, hit that like button, leave a comment, share the video, try and spread some Christmas cheer. You know, I'd really appreciate it if you could watch it. Here's a clip now.
I use a motorbike.
A motorbike? Then how do you travel across the sea?
Why, the bike flies.
Of course it does. Well, let's cut to the chase. We found 5 small bottles of whiskey in your possession.
Oh no, you were mistaken there. There's only 3 bottles.
Are you sure? I thought I counted 5.
Oh no, I checked a couple of times there. There's only 3.
Still, the fact of the matter is, we have reports that you failed the breathalyzer test.
And that's a serious crime. You can be tried for driving under the influence.
Well, you see, that can't be true. My elves crafted me this very ingenious magic pill that means I can never get drunk.
A magic pill.
That is correct.
Who do you think you're fooling with that beard?
Hope you enjoyed that clip. Again, if you want to see the full 3-minute video, link below. There's also 15 minutes of outtakes. Again, leave a comment, let me know what you thought. Hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, see ya.